Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Vivian S. de Guzman. I am the #1 money magnet activator, and welcome to our brand new show, My Spiritual Money RX. So for those of you that are tuning in today, I know that this would be a fabulous addition to your lunchtime tune-ins, because not only will you learn a different way of looking at money, but it's more a spiritually based, aligned way of looking at money. Because we know that we need to know a little bit more about how does this specific word money affect and trigger us at times, right? Because it's such a big subject. So I wanted to share with you what this whole title means. First, we want to know what is RX, right? So RX means a prescription. It's a recommendation or a suggestion, because we all know that we do carry different experiences, different belief systems, and as you keep on learning more, being open to the possibility of learning more and bringing that into your life so that your life would be really more fulfilling and more aligned with your soul purpose. Now, what is money? Well, you've heard the term that money is energy, and money is a physical tool for meeting our material needs, right? It could be also linked to our emotional, relational, and spiritual needs and pursuits. So if you think about money, you can't really do anything without it. Like, can you buy a car without it? Can you contribute to your favorite charity, to the church or the organization that you belong to, right? And can you really provide the needs of your family? Because these are very basic foundational needs. So I want to share with you a little bit about the 4 energetic boundaries that affect your money flow. So all of us carry some form of a money story, but I want to explain this to you so you can understand that there's a physical need, an emotional need, a relational need, and a spiritual need, right? And all of your boundaries, if you think of the rainbow colors, right? Think of the rainbow arch around your whole physical body. Those are your energetic boundaries. It serves as like an extra layer of skin that filters everything that we think about, we feel, and what we do, and how we respond to everything and everyone around us. So I want you to understand how our patterns created. So we know that we have all these boundaries, right? And what do we need to know so that we don't have this love-hate relationship when it comes to money? So patterns are created when we hear things. So think of yourself when you were a little kid, a little child. You see things like your parents do that, like monkey see, monkey do, right? And then you start doing what they're doing. So according to a lot of books that I've read, from 0 to 8 years old, all of the things that you've learned from your parents, from your teachers, perhaps whoever was your main caregiver, influenced how you felt and what you think about money. So let's pause for a second and just understand the gravity of that, right? So if you grew up in an environment where you felt safe, you felt nurtured, you feel like there's consistency in your household, there's no, ups and downs and lots of multiple changes happening, and there's like, if the emotional, the emotional tone in the house is a very, very loving and nurturing, then you probably feel safe. But what if you grew up in a household that you actually did not have that safety, okay? So think about your 4 energetic boundaries as it gives you a sense of safety and happiness. So think about this. When was the last time you felt safe? Okay? And when was the last time that you felt this well of happiness inside of you? And just write that down and see when was that last time. So if you look at your money situation now, at present time, have you ever felt safe with money? So the love-hate relationship happens, this pattern, when you have money. Like, let's say you work for a living and you had a paycheck, and then somehow your first instinct is to give it all away. Like, oh, I have a good heart, I need to give it all away, I need to gift it to other people, right? So you got it, but you're giving it away. So think about your business. What happens when you have this influx, like a lot of money coming in at the same time, right? What happens then? Do you actually allocate it accordingly? Do you have a system or a process wherein everything goes in specific places? Or is it your habit at home that the first time you got it, you would spend it immediately, and then suddenly you don't have anything left for you, right? So what happens there is you forego your sense of safety if the first thing you do is give to everybody else, but then you forgot to include yourself in the process. In my history and several years of being first a physical therapist, then I went into being an energy healer, and then now I'm doing more life coaching and business coaching, I have noticed that the more extreme and the more life-threatening someone's money issues are, that means the more intense their trauma related to money will be. Okay, so it just shows up as like somehow they're allergic to money. So what are these examples, right, of things that would qualify as severe trauma? It could be a severe debt. So think about, have you experienced that yourself, or perhaps your parents did, and then that's why you don't do what they're doing, right? But still you have that fear in the back of your mind that you may incur so much debt and severe debt that you can't get out of it. Is it being constantly either unemployed? It could be also you're constantly underpaid. Okay, so think about those. For you that have a business, are you really undercharging, or are you charging enough? And is that stemming from you not feeling good enough, right? So not good enough, not ready yet. Or are you feeling this ups and downs in life? So again, look at your childhood. Sometimes it is related. A lot of times it is. Because the trauma that we experienced when we were a child, somehow the way we reacted to that, if our energetic boundary has been violated, in other words, it might be it got a hole, it got cracked, it was wounded, there's some form of an inner child syndrome that's showing up for you. And then every time you have a trigger, like an emotional trigger, could be a mental trigger, it could be a spiritual trigger or a physical trigger, you may go back to your old pattern of how you reacted as a child. So if you had experienced the ups and downs and any unpredictable situations, so think about the pandemic right now. A lot of people are in lockdown mode, seems like they can't get back to work, and they don't have enough skill set to actually reinvent themselves or pivot their business, right? So this qualifies as some form of an intermittent abuse, except we've been exposed to it lately for quite some time now, right? Since March, right? When we started in some countries since February. So if you look at these patterns of your love-hate relationship, a lot of times it's because you wanted it, but then you have a but on your sentence. It's kind of like, I want to earn $1 million, but I don't know if I make that much money, am I going to lose my friends? Is my family going to accept me? Will my parents still love me because now I make more money than them? So there's a lot of these hidden unconscious beliefs about money that we hold in our tissues. So the issues are in your tissues a lot of time, in your physical body. Like you just feel it right away that it doesn't feel comfortable. Let's say even adding a 0 to your income, right? By the end of the year. Because everybody else is like struggling, but then how come I'm doing better or I'm doing well? So what I want to do is allow the viewers to actually connect with me and let's get to the root cause of your money stories, right? Because sometimes it is really not what you think it is. Sometimes it's an energetic boundary issue. Sometimes it's your parents' issues that you're carrying in your system or in your energy field. And sometimes it's some deep ancestral wound you don't even know existed and that you are carrying it unconsciously. And some of them are spiritual violations, like old deep programming that you didn't even know was inserted in you, but somehow you're living it. All right, so we're going to bring up some of the questions that you may have. Like it could be, like I said, any severe debt, bankruptcies, or you make a lot of money and then you suddenly lose it all, right? Or it could be untreated addictions, by the way. Untreated addiction is a form of trauma related to money. So you kind of go out a certain way because you have a different way of handling it, okay? There is no right or wrong. It's just we want to share with the audience what is it that you're having some challenges with, and perhaps I can help you with that. All right, so let's give the audience a pause to make sure we have all the questions answered. Oh, okay. What might be the root cause of retail therapy and overspending? Okay, that's a great question, Lauren. Thank you for asking that question. So we know that our soul, in order for it to grow and expand, needs to feel good, right? It wants love, truth, and freedom. So you may want to ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to feel good? And for some of you, that really makes you feel good. You feel more confident when you have new clothes, and you just feel like you're valuing the time, right, on this planet Earth. And if that enhances your work, enhances your self-confidence, so be it. So I guess the question of overspending is, what is your definition of overspending? Because obviously, let's say you created a spending plan. So I don't call it a budget. I call it a spending plan because budget feels so limiting, right? So if it's your spending plan, giving yourself permission, right, to do that certain times of the year, then so be it. It may not be overspending, okay? Okay, so Lauren said overspending in giving to others. Is it really overspending, or is it just your generous heart is wanting to share your blessings with others? So I kind of sense it energetically as that. You're just giving it to others because you want to share the blessings that you're receiving. Knowing that, this is a good thing. That means your mindset is, when I spend the money, it'll come back to me. So that's always my mindset when it comes to investing in myself, right? So if investing in yourself means you're going to get better, either physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, that means that that money will come back to you anyway, most likely multiple folds, right? So I always think of investing in myself, that it'll be returned to me times 10, right? So if that's going to benefit, let's say, my business that spreads more light to the world, yes, I will do that. Because I know that money is unlimited, because it's an unlimited resource. Okay. Sarah said, it's the story of my life. Yes, Sarah. All right, Lisa asked, what can one do to get out of the feeling that there is not enough and to a point of feeling expansive and there is and can be enough? Okay. Wow, so that's a loaded question. So everyone can really benefit from Lisa's question. So if everyone can just feel the ground right now. So let's do a little bit of, it's like I would have you experience this rather than explain this. Because I think this is more an experiential show. Because if I explain it, that might just go over your head. But if you feel it in your physical body, this is a different story, right? So everyone just stand up, and I want you to plant your feet firmly onto the ground. And when you plant your feet, I want you to grow like this beautiful golden tube from your tailbone down, and as if you have golden roots coming from your heels. And I want you to feel the flatness, right, of the surface that you're in. And you're going to move forward and backward, and just to feel where is your center. So first, I want you to feel the worry. The first thing that you said was, I feel like I'm not good enough. And by the way, the symptoms of not being good enough are these. Usually when you do something, it could be personally or at work, it's like you always want to give more. Like just think of the time, right? So let's say your appointment with a client is from 1 to 2 p.m. and somehow you extend beyond 2 p.m. thinking, oh, I'm not done with this client yet. I need to give more because they need more. So remember that that is a symptom of just not good enough, because you're also not honoring your own time and your own boundaries. Plus, the client may go to a different appointment after your appointment, expecting that that's the time when you overextend yourself, right? So when you feel, let's go back to your feet. When you feel this earth, and you have to go 4,000 miles below. So that's the secret of having really good foundation and stability and safety when it comes to money. Because a lot of times we're in our heads and we need to just bring the energy all the way down to our bodies, into the feet, and into the earth. So you want to bring your golden tube and your roots 4,000 miles below, like that deep. So close your eyes and just breathe as if you're moving energy up to the back of your spine, top of your head, and then bring it down again in front of you. So we all breathe in blue, and we all breathe out red. Let's breathe in blue, like water coming from the earth, and we're watering this tree, which is us, all the way to the top of our heads, and then bring down red, like from the heart, belly, and pubic bone. So one more time, breathe in blue, and then breathe out red. And then we connect to God. So think about a golden light, and we're going to connect beyond the earth, beyond the galaxy. We're going to go beyond the angels, and we're going to connect where creation started. And then we're going to just allow this beautiful connection above to enlighten us right now and bring in all this energy through our bodies, from the head to the midline, all the organs, all the cells, to the feet, and into the earth. And now we're going to form a golden bubble around each one of you, and just close your eyes, quietly say your name, your full name, 3 times. So if you're married and you added your married name, you just get your full name on your birth certificate and you add your married name if you're using that right now. And then what I want you to do is ask the divine for the truth of this feeling of not good enough, right? Or not enough. So bring that energy of what is this? What does this mean? And I want you to feel that in your heart, that feeling, because it feels kind of empty, almost like, well, how do I fill that up, right? But I want you to think about that feeling as like a golden sunshine, and you're going to make it bigger than your body. And then just keep on expanding it all the way beyond the room that you're in, and beyond the city that you're in, and beyond the country that you're in. And we're going to go beyond this planet, okay? And I want you to just breathe into that. Breathe a lot of light into this feeling of not good enough. And see or sense where that came from. Because it could be somebody's face might show up in the picture. Or it could be all the people that you have encountered have that sense, and you need to let it go, right? So think of poking that bubble that you've created beyond the universe with like a pin. And then ask the divine to replace that now with something beautiful. Like, what is being enough or being good enough? What does that mean? Can you please give me this divine feeling of being enough? And so let's bring that to our hearts, like visualize what that is like. Just receive what God will give you and bring it in, and then expand this all the way again beyond the room you're in, beyond the city, the country, the planet, and the universe. And you're probably going to have a different sensation at this time. So the not good enough, like I said, from a lot of the clients, thousands and thousands of clients that I've treated. By the way, even people that have six-figure income, seven-figure income, we're talking 100,000, 500,000, sometimes even millionaires, have that feeling at times. Every time we up level, every time we up our game, every time we change our ideal clients or ideal avatars, we call it, every time we change jobs, change relationship, even change the place where we're living at, right? We feel different because we're kind of starting from scratch again, right? We're starting all over again. But if you follow like nature, and if you follow the cycles of life, there's a birth, there's a death, there's always a beginning and an end, right? Beginning, middle, and end. All right. Very good. Well, those are beautiful questions. Do we have any other questions? Keisha, what main shifts do you need to make to substantially increase your business? Times 2 or 3 what you have now. So Keisha, thank you for that question. So for all those business owners out there, what I've noticed in working with a lot of entrepreneurs, right? So let's say you're in a six-figure business, like 100K to 500K. We usually create massive imperfect actions, right? Because clarity, number one, is super important. And then we have to focus on who those ideal clients are. And then everything that we do, marketing, branding, that all really translates to attracting the right clients. But when we start going into the seven-figure mark, like million-dollar businesses and more, we really we need to learn how to delegate. And this is the shift, because I see a lot of my clients in my 90-day success and my gold VIP programs. That is somehow the hardest shift for them, is to delegate. It's usually a control issue, right? Because you're thinking, well, I'm good at this and I do it better than my VA, let's say, or my copywriter. Like, I just do it better. So then I should just do it. So the question is, do you really want to expand your business? Do you really allow support from the universe? Are you really clear on what you're giving as far as delegation to others, right? Because the more clear you are as the CEO, the better you will be. So I also noticed that if you have a dream, great. So your vision and mission really drives the business. So if you have that, people are attracted to you because you're doing something bigger than you. It's not just about you making money. It's about you making a difference. And then when they come in, as you create those containers and packages for your clients, they just step into their own greatness and create a different container for their clients. So that it's a magical thing to create containers, right? It's not, yes, they're paying for your skills, for your experiences, for your energy, but at the same time, they're really looking for someone who would lead and guide them to bring their awareness to that level. It's a frequency change, right? So from doing everything yourself to delegating to someone else is a completely different shift. So your dreams are great, but goals are dreams with a deadline. So you also have to have some form of a goal. And the first thing I tell people is you have to be of service. When you're in business already, it's no longer about you at this point. It's really about the people you're serving and the vision of your company, right? So if they buy into that vision and your own mission, everything just doubles and triples, Keisha. So it's like a long way of answering that question. Yes, so Keisha says delegate. Yes, yes, yes. Delegation is great, right? All right. Sarah says, my muscle test tells me no when I ask, am I good enough? Oh, how can I finally shift that? Okay. So we just did that exercise. So tell me, Sarah, when you have this feeling of not good enough, what are the faces, like who are the people that's showing up to you as you're not good enough? Like, can you share with us what you saw when you did that exercise? Because it could be layers and layers of that, right? So you may have heard it. It could have been some form of a programming, right, that you've had since you were young, from 0 to 8. Is that from your mother? Yes, I'm getting it's from your mother. So you have to put your mother, okay, on your left side. So let's say for those of you who are married with spouses and children, we normally put them energetically on the right side. And for those of you, you know, mom, dad, sisters, brothers, and anybody else that you want to connect with that are relatives, you actually put your mother on your left side. You ground her also and connect her to source and bubble her. So it's a possibility that you may have some form of a codependency pattern. And those things, by the way, are formed in utero usually. It's not, you think, you know, you're born and it's possible. There's different stages wherein these codependency cords or attachments are made. So let's say when your mother was pregnant with you, let's say she really doesn't have her own needs met. Does that make sense? So when you are in her womb, you need energy, right? Because you're a growing child. You're a growing fetus inside of her. But if her own needs are not met, and here you are, this ball of pure energy, sometimes you go, oh, let me just lend you, because you're feeling everything. You're in her genetic soup, right? You're in her uterus. You are feeling her heartbeat. You're feeling everything about her, how she feels, how she thinks, and maybe what you hear. That's why they read for babies, you know, when they're young inside of the mommy's tummy, because you hear all that. Like, you can just feel how loved you are. So my question to you is, did you ever feel like your needs were met inside of her? Because if that role had been reversed and you kept on giving her some of your life force energy, that's good for a short time, because maybe it gave her some boost. It gave her a little bit of energy, right? To be able to go over or go through her day without feeling yucky. But then let's say you're born and then again, her needs are not met. It could be from your father, from other siblings, right? Like the affection of just being part of a family. Then if you keep on doing the same thing, you have formed this codependency cord. And it doesn't feel good, by the way. It doesn't feel good. And when we have that and we start doing our business, right? Because it's another circle. First it's us and then family and then business. What happens is we do the same thing with our clients, with the people we work with, just because we feel like they need us. And so my question to you is your pattern to help immediately first before you even ask clarifying questions? Because the question is, do I get, right, for you as the one also receiving, is this a fair exchange to work with this person? Because if it's not, you may not want to even enter that relationship, so that you can start shifting the not good enough part. Yes, you saw the face. And who's the face? Is it a relative, male or female? Just so that we can keep the anonymity there and privacy. So I would connect them to God and earth and just bubble them and move them away from you and just thank them for the lesson. But when you start creating a boundary, that person may not like what you're doing, okay? As we keep on growing and expanding and evolving, we start to really honor who we are. That integrity to self is so critical when it comes to money. So we know that money is energy, but people don't even realize how much they tolerate. So remember, energy could be, or money could be physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual. So if you ask yourself, you may journal on this today, what are you tolerating in your life? Meaning you're not really okay with it, but then there's like a low grade sense of tolerance, just because I remember for myself in the beginning, as I was building the business, you know how the desperation mode was there And it almost feels like if I don't do this, then this is not going to happen, like a cause and effect. So the trust in the spiritual realm wasn't really there at that time. I just thought, when I do this, this is what's going to happen, right? Until I realized that the doing too much effort can actually cause more digestive problems, kidney problems because of stress, and adrenal problems, right? So too much effort doesn't really rely on spirit to help you with the problem or the question or the challenge that you're encountering. So the more you actually be quiet and still, like we did our grounding meditation today, the better you'll be able to get the answer or the divine download of what it is that's causing the not good enough, your love-hate relationship for money. Okay. I think we have another question from Keisha. How do you break free of generational curses and create healthy new money stories and relational experiences? Whoo, Keisha, that's kind of deep. So let me share with you what I see when I do my energetic healing, okay? And that's a very good question, because a lot of us, by the way, have this, right? So you notice, and I'm going to bring in, remember when there was the Black Lives Matter, you know, when all the riots and everything else happened, right? You'll notice even in the Black community, there's a lot of anger, fear, some kind of a hidden suppression and repression that came out emotionally. It's almost like you're pissed off at something, but you don't even know what it is. But the whole collective, it's called Unveiling, by the way. So the truth is coming out because the light has to come out. Therefore, when you have those judgments and your misperceptions and misinformation in the past, maybe because you were given the wrong story, or you know, you just didn't learn it how it really happened, right? It was written differently. It was veiled somehow. So when you unveil the true story and the reality and the truth comes out, then you start getting pissed because you knew your boundary was being violated. So boundaries, by the way, it's a form of safety, like I said, for you. So sometimes when we're born, right, the ancestors, so the people that have passed away, most of them, like I said, they go to heaven. You know, you've heard of that. We call it, they go to the veil, they cross over the light, right? So there's different terminologies for that. And they return to God, and then they figure out, yes, here are the lessons that you learned down there in school called Earth, and these are the lessons that you didn't quite learn. Okay, so some of them don't really cross over, and there are souls that are still hanging out. So I'm going into the spiritual realm now. And for those people that perhaps they have unfinished business, maybe their purpose wasn't quite fulfilled, and you somehow had an agreement with them to come back in a physical body and say, okay, I can do this. I can handle that. We can fix all of that generational stuff, so I can make this happen through your own light that you're shining. So there are good and bad that goes with that, right? So the good thing is, again, you're shedding some light, you're exposing the truth in this present time reality. But if there are any grudges, negative emotions and thoughts associated with certain things from our old generation, and we have a cord connected to that, that becomes an issue. So we basically uncord you, right? As we heal you, we also heal your ancestral and old generational beliefs, because you start seeing the truth of it rather than just the program of how they felt through their soul when they were here on earth, right? Because our brains remember the story, and unfortunately it's the negative things that trigger us, right? It's not the positive things. The positive things, we love reminiscing and we love going back and forth, but it's totally a different experience when you really heal your own generational stories, right? And you share the wins you have now with them. So a lot of these energy healing tools, by the way, not only do you heal the past behind you, but you also change the trajectory of the future of your kids, grandkids, and everyone in the future. So that's how powerful one person and one soul can be when they're healing their stories. All right. Oh, Sarah is crying and releasing. Yes, so some of these energetic healings are very deep. And like I said, money is like you can turn on your money switch. If you know that there's another way aside from what you learn in books, right? Like you're supposed to save, you're supposed to do it this way. Like those are all good. Strategies are good when the energetics is fixed. If the energy is still turned off for making money, could be because maybe you hate rich people, right? So if you have negative thoughts and emotions about them, I have news for you. You're never going to get there just because you don't like them very much. There's this, you know, when you're hating someone or there's anger, there's an energy that pushes out. So you're also pushing money away when you do that. Very simple things. Or it could be when you say, I can't afford that. So think of that as every time you do that, you dig your own prosperity hole and it gets deeper and deeper because you're saying you cannot afford it. And by the way to shift that is I go outside, I go for a walk, and I want you to count the number of leaves in the trees because most likely you're going to be stuck in one tree and you're never going to really be able to count all the leaves because there's so many, right? So nature gives you this sense of abundance if you're willing to look at things differently, right? If you're willing to shift that mindset. All right. Somebody says, I saw a picture of, okay. Jesus goose. Okay, Sarah says so powerful. Thank you. Awesome. Great. All right, so are there any more questions? Oh, Lauren, if I've done generational healing and clearing, how do I maintain this cleared condition and not revert or repeat? Great question, Lauren. Every time you do any kind of healing, there's a few techniques that you could do to help yourself maintain that. Normally, by the way, once you heal something, right, it doesn't come back to that unless there's so many repetitions and layers of that, right? And it could go another generation, right? So it could be 2 generations ago, it could be 10 lifetimes ago, right? So these are the tools that you could use. So one thing is, you know how when we do a prayer position, like you put your hands in the middle and your thumbs go on your heart. So if you take a deep breath, like you're basically integrating everything in your body after a healing. So you breathe in and out and just find that straight connection between God, you, and earth. So that's one. So you want to feel level on both sides. The other way of maintaining it is to clear, right? Like tap the back part of your head. That will help you maintain that polarity. Basically, whatever you just cleared, it doesn't keep on coming back unless you keep on bringing it up again. So for those of you, let's say that, let's say you already resolved that problem, but then you keep on talking about it and talking about it as if it just happened yesterday, you almost go back to that scene again and you try to rehash the whole thing. So that's most important, right? When you and your spouse are arguing, please don't bring up old topics that you already figured out how to solve, because otherwise you just are deepening your karma with that person and you're deepening the negative karma and relationship problems that are happening in your life. Oh, and the last technique is for maintaining the clearing is figure of 8 around, like forward and back with your hands. So those are ways, let's say you had a clearing, or maybe you went to the beach and you just feel so good and you just want to keep that feeling, right? So prayer position, tapping the back of your occiput or your head, and figure of 8. So those are the ways that you could do that. Great questions. Yes, Shifra, you're thinking about the same question. Great minds think alike. Wow. Venus says, wow. Wow. Thank you. Isang said, I saw a picture of Sacred Heart of Jesus and had some goosebumps. Perfect. I'm sure. Yes, Jesus, lots of divine forgiveness comes with that image, right? Like, so there's a part of you, Isang, that probably need to forgive yourself. So if we think about that, you know how when we do a lot of inward, like we call it self-criticism, it is a form of self-sabotage. Because if you think of if God or Jesus lives within you, right? Like you're a representation of God because we are created in the image of and likeness of God. So if you start saying bad things to yourself, like, what are you doing, right? So you're almost insulting God or Jesus just because if he or she, whatever is your belief system, right, is residing within you, that is a form of sabotaging, like this beautiful creation, because you are magnificent. We're all created in the image and likeness of God. So when we think of things like money, we need to be more grateful. We need to be more alive and excited and a little bit more curious, right? When we were kids, you don't even think about money at that time because you're just a child. But if you look at all your experiences, are they positive? Are they negative? How can you shift the negative into something positive? How can you look at things as, okay, maybe they're just having a moment or a bad day at that time, and if your parents somehow blamed it on you, are you allowing that to reside in you? So those are the suppressed anger and frustration and irritation that sometimes we hold. So when we're able to let go and know that they're humans, right? Like us, we're humans. We have good and bad days. And some days we just have to let things flow through our system and then move forward with focusing on what's important to you, right? And how can you show up differently today? How can you be more of service to the people you serve today? That's a different story because now you're showing up differently. You're not thinking about the numbers. You're just thinking, okay, how can I be the best version of myself today? So those might be questions you may want to ask yourself every single day, so that you can shift some of those negative recurring thoughts or patterns that you may have. Amy, yes, that makes so much sense. I have carried much of my mother's scarcity money story, and I'm in the process of shifting that for myself, children, and future generations. Yes. Yes, thank you, Amy, for bringing that up. Our mothers are very, very influential in our lives because they carry us in their womb, right? And you really don't know. This is interesting. This is from my own experience. You don't even know that you have a codependency relationship with your mother until you actually start to really be an adult, right? Because energetically at about 13, by the way, this cord between the root chakra, if you're familiar with the root chakra, it's below the pubic bone. We have that connection with our mother when we're younger because we need her for food, right? Breast milk, if you've been fed that way, for clothing, for shelter, right? And all the financial resources. We need our mother a lot. And then as we grow up, if there's still a codependency situation and we don't really become us, like the independent us, you'll feel your mother when she's having a problem. And she'll also feel you when you're having a problem, which sounds very loving, right? However, all the good and the bad that she's feeling, you're also feeling. So if she never used to be a business owner and now you're a business owner and you think differently because the priorities are different, the skill set would be different, right? For the day. Just think of the day of a business owner versus a housewife. Two different roles. And if you're not able to discern which is yours and which is your mother's, that will give you a problem prioritizing your day. Because let's say you're doing your business duties and then suddenly your kids are crying in the background, or maybe they need food, and then you're thinking, I'm the only one who could do that, right? Really? Like there's only 24 hours in a day and you have to sleep too. So the delegation and the prioritization really changes when you shift role like that. So yes, thank you for that. And Isan said, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Miss Keisha, these are all interesting concepts because I have realized that money, health, and relationships are all interrelated. I wish I could say that money is just you got to work and then you get paid, right? But and this is another topic, right? Because I can talk here all day about money because, again, it's in physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual boundaries. So We only touched the physical part today, right? So the three things that I want you to do today is start journaling about your relationship with money. Like, just write it down, and you'll notice what kind of relationship you have with the people that actually cared for you when you were young. All your feelings about this thing called money, like, you could be angry at it. You could be upset that it's not coming to you. You could be sad that it's leaving you every single time it leaves. If you keep on journaling and just let your heart pour out on the paper every single morning for 30 days, you may see why you treat it this way. So I now treat money as part of my dream team. Money is part of my dream team. So then I have to really think about what's my relationship to money. Because if it's part of my dream team, how would I treat it? How would I want to be treated if I'm part of my team, right? So I think of it that way. And then number two, you may want to carry a certain amount in your pocket every single day. So whatever makes you feel rich, it could be $100 bill, it could be $50, whatever it is, $20, but don't spend it. Know that when you go to, let's say, the mall, or if you shop online, know that you have enough in your pocket to be able to afford it. And keep on saying to the things that you want, I can afford it. I can afford you. Just say it like it's an exercise. I can afford that. I can afford you. Yes, it doesn't mean you're going to take it home that day. You just know that you can afford it. So start training your mind to afford things that you really want, because it is okay to want something. It is okay to give yourself permission to desire something else that you have. And then number three, I really want you to value your time, right? You've heard time is money. The time you spend today, pay attention if those are really your priorities and your values. And if this person you're spending time with actually gives back as a contribution, right? I know you're giving to the person. The question is, how are you receiving? Because money is a receiving issue. How are you receiving, and in what form? It could be a friendship, a hug. It could be money, right? It could be just that person makes you feel good and you make her feel good. So there has to be some form of an exchange, knowing that when you give something, though, you're not thinking, oh, is this person going to give me something? No, you don't have to think that way, because when you help someone, it could be a beggar, right? It could be a homeless person. It could be you get a free Starbucks after that, right? It doesn't matter who you're giving it to, as long as you're happy inside. You feel safe and you feel happy when you're doing what you're doing. So how do you value your time, right? So those are the three tips that I want to leave you today. And I want to thank you all for viewing. And Elle said, wow, that's powerful, changing the conversation. I can afford that. Yes. So much generational junk to work through. These are great insights and tips. Thank you, Vivian. Yes, and thank you, Elle. Thank you, everyone, for participating today and having these questions answered. And I'm really, really happy that you are here giving us this opportunity to serve you, right? Fun exercises. I can afford it. I'm choosing not to take it home today. Yes, yes, Amy. You don't have to take it home. You just know you can afford it all the time. Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And I will see you again next Wednesday at the same time, 12 p.m. Pacific, right here on My Spiritual Money RX. Thank you. I love you all. All right. And please make... all right. And please make...